Must be nice to have your parents paying for all your shit.
What?
Just, must be nice to still be on the teat. I'm a graduate student, so that's not really my situation anymore.
Okay.
So yeah, this is 4 things of nuts.
4 nuts.
Brain food.
4 nuts for a nut, right? Cool.
Here you go.
Thank you. My God, what did you do?
It's a long story, but the strip still works, and that's what matters, so.
Okay, it looks like somebody tried to cut it, and then you found it in the garbage.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We are just 2 boys watching HBO's Girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And this is another edition of the best podcast, the premier podcast, where 2 adult men review HBO's Girls. And today, we are talking about Season 4, Episode 2. Overall, this is Episode 34. It is titled Triggering. It is directed by Lena Dunham, written by Jenny Connor and Lena Dunham. The original air date was January 18th, 2015, to an audience of 797,000 people, 0.797 million. How do you feel about this episode coming out of it?
Immediately coming out of it, it's an interesting episode that doesn't really feel like it has an ending.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah.
This is a all Hannah episode all the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of there's cameos from the other girls, but not really anything. Well, I mean, yeah, not really anything of significance. But this is yet another Hannah heavy episode.
Mm-hmm.
When are we gonna get like a Shoshana heavy episode or a Jessa or a Marnie heavy episode? Like the only one character driven episodes are Hannah, and I think that's not fair.
Well, we've had a Jessa driven episode too.
Which one was that?
When she goes to visit her parents, her dad.
When Hannah hooks up with the guy in the graveyard?
Yeah, that's a Jessa going back, Jessa driven episode. Yeah. And it seems like in hindsight they did that episode because then they weren't going to have her for a couple episodes after that.
I guess. I feel like the story there was
you
like
just
that
hate, you just hate Jessa so much that now showed you an opposite.
I feel like the most significant thing that happened in that we've talked about several times is that Hannah hooked up with a guy in a graveyard. And like, I don't even really remember what Jessa was doing. Like, she went there, she got pissed off at her dad, and then she abandoned people.
She had that big emotional scene with her dad. Then her dad
on
left
the swings.
And then she left, and then she abandoned Hannah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't count that. That sucked.
That's because you hate Jessa.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. I was like, here's an example of when he did it. You're like, no, that doesn't count.
I tried to forget.
And there's been, I feel like Marnie gets a lot of play in this.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like not. I mean, obviously, Lena Dunham is the main driver of this show, but I don't know if it's an ensemble cast. A lot of the screen time, I would say 70% of the stories are Hannah's stories, and then the rest of them kind of get pushed aside.
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Am I crazy? If I'm crazy, write in BoysWatchingGirlsPodcast at gmail.com.
You're like, I'm trying to think of another show. It's like complaining that the lead of a show is not getting the lead, that it's taking up the bulk. Like, that's how that works.
No, I'm saying like The Office, it's an ensemble cast, but it's not just all Michael stories. It's not just all Jim stories. It's not just all Pam stories. It's not just all Dwight stories.
And they also did 20 some episodes a season too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true, but I feel like it was more evenly distributed, whereas this show is not as evenly distributed.
Yeah, I'm fine. I at first we were complaining that they weren't doing enough Shoshana showing, but then they show Shoshana and we're like, oh, okay, now I get it. And like, Not saying that
Yeah.
her as an actress or anything, or the character's bad. It's just like, oh, we got to figure out how we want to utilize this. Like, I don't think you can do a ton of Jessa only stories or a bunch of Shoshana only stories. I mean, you can. You obviously can just be like, oh, let's break off and have a day in the life of Shoshana and like see all the stuff. But yeah, I mean, we've had episodes. We had the boys episode where the boys just go on a trip.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is
Like they've done different stuff.
Yeah, but not with the girls.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we still have half the series to go. So.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into this bad boy. So Hannah is now at Iowa. She is there. She is looking at apartments, and she is surprised with how cheap they are. Which, like, you know, if you live in New York for a certain amount of time, you always have those fantasies about like, oh my God, if I lived in, you know, Detroit, I could own a house for the rent. If I lived in Iowa, I could own a house. If I lived in, you know, whatever, any other place aside from New York or LA or San Francisco, basically you could rent an entire house, which is what Hannah ends up doing, for less than your rent in New York City, where you get a tiny cramped apartment where you have 2 roommates.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if she had the whole house or just the one floor of the house or not, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
What did you think? What did you think of her decision to completely max out her budget? Like,
yeah, I thought that was so stupid. I thought stupid.
Just split it in the middle, go 400 and get like a
yeah.
medium.
I was gonna say even get 600. That's exactly the number that my brain went to. Yeah. I was like, just see what you can get for 600, save 200, and then buy yourself something nice every month. I don't know.
Yeah, that's an extra month of $800 a month of rent.
Right.
You know, I don't know.
I thought that was real dumb.
Yeah.
But you know, it's Hannah. That's what she does.
I mean, it's still cheaper than whatever she's paying in the almost $2,000 she was paying in New York. So yeah, very true, Vance. Yeah. You are correct. So yeah, she's been looking around. She rents an entire gigantic house.
Then she goes to class. She has a bike now. She falls on her bike. Haha, fat girl falls on her bike.
It didn't even make any sense. It just seemed like she kind of drove to a spot and fell over.
Yeah, she dings her bell and just like falls out of nowhere. I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
She goes to class. She's putting her bike in the bike rack, and then some like goth looking girl looks at her, and Hannah's like trying to lock her bike up, and the goth girl is like, "Oh, you don't even need to bother with that. This is Iowa, dude. You know, no one's going to steal your bike." Foreshadowing.
Yeah. I was really happy to find out that girl was in her class, because otherwise I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah, right? Yeah. I thought that from initial appearance, I thought that girl was Carrie Brownstein from Portlandia.
Mm.
Doesn't she kind of look like her?
A little, but I think Carrie Brownstein is just so white and pale compared to her.
Yeah, that's true. Carrie Brownstein is so pale.
Yeah, facial structure, bone structure a little bit, but
yeah, same hair kind of.
Yeah.
But so Hannah and her have an awkward moment where, they're staring at each other. And then Hannah says, "Okay, I'm going to break eye contact with you now." And then what's the goth girl's name?
I don't know any of the characters' names, but I do remember in this scene she talks about, I knew you were in grad school or something, or you because you look older. And then Hannah goes on about oh no, I look young, and no one ever cards. I always get carded and stuff, and then no one ever thinks I'm legal, in a bedroom. She's all right.
She was like, yeah, people always card me. No one ever thinks I'm legal. It's just so weird.
Yeah.
And Hannah makes it seem like this other girl is making it awkward,
yeah.
But it's definitely her that makes it awkward. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think the girl that she's talking to, the character's name is Chandra.
Okay.
So that's good knowledge.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chandra. So then Hannah goes and she goes to buy her books and stuff or groceries. I don't know. Or, oh, wait, no.
No, next thing she's FaceTimed with Marnie.
Yeah, she's FaceTiming with Marnie. That's correct. And she's showing around the house and being like, oh my God, look at how big this house is. It took me 4 whole minutes to show you my entire living quarters. In New York, it would take me 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Great dialogue. Then Marnie is basically knitting something. And even I was like, what is she doing? And so Hannah's like, how's New York? And Marnie's like, stop. And Hannah's like, stop what? She's like, I know you're about to ask me about Adam, and don't ask me about him. And Hannah's like, well, I wasn't going to, but now that you mention it, how is Adam?
And she said, she says she's not going to tell her because then she'll get all weird or whatever.
Which is very true.
It's so interesting that Marnie takes this point of view, considering what she's done with Charlie all the time.
Yep. She did this exact same thing with Adam about Charlie.
Yeah, and it's just like at that dinner party where like she just was like couldn't even eat the tacos or whatever. But the more important thing is why would Marnie know anything about Adam?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. It's probably because they're hooking up.
Yeah, like that was what I thought. I was like, wait, what? Like, how would she ever interact with Adam?
Okay, here's the thing. I don't even think Marnie and Adam would be Facebook friends.
No.
Like, number one, Adam just wouldn't have a Facebook.
Yeah.
But even if he did, they would not be Facebook friends. She couldn't. I would love to know what Adam would post on social media.
No, I do not want to see that.
It would probably be like just quotes from poems that he was reading or something.
The thing that's crazy is that he's not even in the play anymore. So it's not like she's having an affair with Desi and then, she finds out from Desi what Adam's up to, you know? Like,
yeah,
there's no intersection where she would know anything about Adam.
Yeah. But so she tells Hannah, she's like, I'm not going to tell you anything about what's going on with Adam unless he's like in the hospital. And then Hannah's like, okay, well, that's fine. So then Hannah finally calls her out and be like, why are you knitting? You haven't knitted anything since like fucking, I forget what it was, like freshman year of college or something.
You know, when everyone's knitting, you know, freshman year is a knitting year.
I know, right? You know, the freshman 15, the freshman knitting.
Oh, that's so lame.
So she's like, what are you knitting? And then Marnie says that she's knitting Desi a sweater. And Hannah is like, why don't you just go to Uniqlo like everybody else? Oh my God, I just kicked the table. Sorry. And then basically they get into a debate about whether or not it's ethical for her to be seeing Desi because she's having an affair, because Desi's still with his girlfriend. And Marnie's like, well, why does anyone need to care about that? Like, she doesn't know. We're all happy.
And then it freezes up.
And then it freezes up. And then Hannah...
which sucked because I kind of wanted to hear her rationale for why she thought this worked.
Me too. But also Hannah waited like the least amount of time to see if it unfroze. It like froze for...
I thought it was enough.
It froze for 1 second. She's like, Marnie, you froze and I can't see you. Your face is doing a funny thing. Oh, well, click.
Yeah. I mean, she didn't need to listen to whatever Marnie was saying. I was curious as a viewer, but if you've been Marnie's friend for this long, you know this is a perfect opportunity to get off.
Yeah. So, that's where that happens. That's where we leave that. So now Hannah was just bragging to Marnie about how she was eating grapes as a snack and all of her life has changed. But then she goes to the grocery store or bookstore. What store was that?
It's a campus store. I mean, it's just, I don't know. It just reminded me of like just being at
Like
the university and going to the store, and like they kind of have snacks and books and apparel and stuff like the schools.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So she's there, and the girl that's in front of her, the guy that's working the register is like complimenting her, saying that she's so pretty and she smells so nice. And then she walks away, and Hannah's next, and Hannah comes up and she's basically expecting the same treatment, but doesn't get it. Also, the guy that's working the register is a comedian named Brooks Wheelan, who was on Saturday Night Live for one season.
Yep.
I never got why he was on SNL. Like, he never did anything on SNL, which explains why he was only there for one season.
Well, I mean, the guy from that sketch show that we like, Tim Robinson. He was on
Tim Robinson.
He was a writer for SNL, and then he was a cast member for a bit. You know, it's like sometimes your comedy just doesn't click with that. Fully
I
with
guess. Because Brooks Wheelan, it seems like he's more of a stand-up as opposed... Like, SNL is usually, like, improv people.
Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, it can be, but not all the time. Like, you have Pete Davidson, he's a stand-up. Steve Martin started out as a stand-up.
Well, he wasn't on SNL. He just hosted a zillion times.
What, Steve Martin?
Like,
he wasn't. Yeah, you're right.
But, I mean, like, Chris Rock was on it.
Yeah.
And he's stand-up. Yeah. But, you know what? I don't know. It's weird. But Brooks Wheelan is the guy. And Hannah tries to pay with her Amex card, which is, like, cut. And Brooks Wheelan calls her out on her, like, shitty-looking credit card. He's like, this looks like someone tried to cut it, then threw it in the trash, and then dug it out a few days later. And she's like, well, it works and everything. So she gives him the card, and it's one of those things where, like, the customer usually puts the card in.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I don't usually do this, but okay. So he swipes it for her, and it says that you need to call Amex. And Hannah's like, well, okay, well, let's call Amex. And he's like, but I don't want to. Yeah. She's like, but... And he's like, don't you have another card? And she goes, no, that's my only card. He goes, who travels with one card? She's like, me. And if you need to call Amex, call Amex. He's like, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I didn't get the point of this scene.
Me neither.
I didn't understand if it was like, oh, this is New York, like, and this is like her being a New Yorker and just being like, oh no, you're gonna make the phone call. Well, I just didn't. Yeah. I didn't get what we're doing.
Also, I've never seen a thing where it's like you have to call your credit card company. Like, I've had my card declined because they think it's like a fraudulent charge, but it's not like it says it on the pay pad. Like, you get a text message or a phone call or an email or something.
I was watching Best in Show recently, and a scene like that happens in that, where they go to the hotel and the card is declined and it says to call the company, because maybe they like put a hold on it. They want to prove whoever's there is the real owner or whatever. Card owner. I don't know. It doesn't even matter though. Like, we spent way too much time talking about this scene. It doesn't matter because he just goes and makes the call, and the next thing you know, we're out of there. Like, it doesn't.
It leads to nowhere. I don't think Brooks Wheelan. Yeah, I don't think Brooks Wheelan's going to show up in this show again. Like, maybe he might be like her boyfriend next episode.
At this point, he's just an actor at this point. Like, he's not like a major star at this time period, probably.
Well, I mean, I still don't really think he's a major star.
No, but I mean, like, it's not like, oh, Brooks Wheelan needs to show up. Like, he's just... There's been bigger actors. Like, we might not ever see, like, Anna Gasteyer or you know.
Yeah. I wonder if this is before or after he was on SNL.
Could be during. I don't know the years.
Yeah. So anyway, Hannah comes home. She's like trying to take a picture in front of her house. Guy tells her to come to a battle of the bands because he's the drummer in both bands, which I thought was pretty funny. Like, this town is so small that they only have one drummer. He's like drumming for everyone. So that was kind of a nothing scene. Hannah goes to sleep, or she's trying to go to sleep. She's looking through her camera roll of pictures of with Adam, and she hears like wings fluttering and some squeaks and stuff, and she gets up. She's investigating what the sound could be, and it is a bat. A bat is in her house. She throws her phone at the bat, which obviously the correct thing to do. Your phone without a case, throw it at the bat.
Even your phone with a case, why would you throw it at the bat?
I could see how it could be like a gut reaction, but like if I don't have a case on my phone.
If it's a gut reaction, I don't think gut reactions take into account case or no case. Like that defeats the purpose of a gut reaction.
Well, this is why you should always have a case, though. What if there's a bat in your house? You got to throw your phone at it.
Yeah.
So she runs out of the house, locks herself out, has to sneak back in, ends up sleeping in the bathroom, on the bathroom floor. Wakes up late to class.
We never get the bat leaving either.
Yeah, this is like a couple of scenes that just like don't really matter in a row.
And I say we just breeze past these.
Yeah. So she goes to class, and she's in a fiction writing class, and the scene starts out with what's this guy's name? DeAugust. He's reading his story, and it is like verbose and all kinds of flowery, fluttery language.
About like his mom with a rotted tooth or something.
Yeah, and everyone kind of, sucks his dick about how good it is. Everybody loves it.
Except Hannah.
And then, except for Hannah, who's basically like, it's obvious that the mom dies though, right? Like she like calls it out, and she's like, this is what this is.
Yeah. And at this point, did you think this scene was going to be about all the other writing students just being like full of praise and bullshit about whatever anyone wrote, and then Hannah being the one that's just going to like cut them down because she's been in the writing world a little longer than them?
I thought, yes, I did think that.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that it was just good. Everybody was going to love everything. It's just not going to be helpful for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But then as soon as Hannah started reading, and Hannah gave a trigger warning before her passage,
Yeah.
I was like, they're going to tear this apart because of how douchily she is, giving everybody a warning. Like, this is going to fucking cause some emotional distress in you.
Yeah.
And then she read like 3 sentences.
Hannah and Lena Dunham are like the most self-aware people that continue to make the self-aware mistakes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because the rest of the scene, they just really call her out. It's a show that she's writing, calling herself out on the stuff that she's doing. It's like that self-awareness, but still doing it.
She takes the criticism that is levied at her in real life and makes them character points for other people in the show.
Yeah, and doesn't do it in a way where the character that is levying that against her is wrong and stupid. They seem even more right.
Yeah, she's like, this is valid criticism, I guess. But yeah. So she reads her story, and it's basically like talking about how she was hooking up with a guy, and she asked him to punch her in the chest or something.
Which is from No Man's Trash. She mentions that in No Man's Trash when she's with what's his name?
Patrick Wilson.
Yeah.
And so she reads it, and everyone's like, yeah, this seems like a privileged white girl just looking for some kind of way to feel alive because she's such a privileged asshole.
Well, the quote is, it's a privileged girl letting someone abuse her. Is that what they said? Yeah.
And then one girl says that it seems like she's belittling abuse.
Mm-hmm.
One guy, and Hannah keeps trying to interrupt everybody and like defend her thing, but the teacher keeps stopping her.
Yeah.
And because you're not supposed to talk while everyone's critiquing your work.
Yeah.
And Hannah keeps breaking that rule.
And there's the one, then they start to say, well, it's obvious that it's about her.
Yes, I wrote that quote down.
That's the girl that told her about not locking up her bike. What's her name?
Yeah.
Chandra.
Yeah,
she said I talked to her the other day, and it's so clear that this is about her.
It's so clear that it's about her, and Hannah's like, what? And then the guy goes, yeah, it's very obvious. Here's the quote. It's about a girl with a lot of tattoos named Anna. And then other girl in the class says, yeah, who needs to eat every 2 hours or she passes out. And then this is where we cut to Hannah, and she's like stuffing her face with something.
She's got like a Ziploc bag of snacks. And
Yeah.
because I guess they were just reading a portion of it because they sent it before, so everyone's read it before class too. Like that's what she prefaces. I did love the guy, the Asian guy in class. I forget his name.
He's like B. Chang or something.
And he goes, "I've never met
Chester Chong.
Chester Chong. I've never met her, but it's definitely her." And it's supposed to be like a fiction writing class.
Yeah. Well, this is where D. August sticks up for her.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I mean, who cares? It's like, just because it's Hannah's experiences, like she can make a fictionalized version of herself. Like authors do that all the time. And then everybody backs down and agrees with D. August. And this is where I write, this is where all of the white students just agree with everything a black guy says because they don't want to seem racist. That's what I took from this scene because, you know, during his thing, everyone was like, you're such a great writer, blah, 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 blah. And then when he says this, everyone's like, oh, you're so right, D. August. You're amazing. I was like, is this going to be a recurring thing?
I don't know. I mean, because you also have an Asian guy. I don't know Chandra's ethnicity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But I took that. I was like, oh, this is just like white people being like, oh, yeah.
I would need a bigger sample size. I would need to see another person read before I could go that far with it.
Yeah, that was just my like jump to conclusion. I wouldn't like if there was another scene of them doing this, then I'd be like, oh, confirmed.
Well, no, if like it's just like one of the other people like read, like one of the white people read outside of Hannah without a trigger warning. If they read it and got ripped apart, you know, or something, like I don't know. I would have to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's what I took from it. So Hannah, yeah, that's pretty much the end of the scene.
Well, no, I mean the guy talks about how it's not the guy talks about how he felt like he didn't have enough a male point of view.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then that's when she actually does get a chance to she wants to get words in. The teacher's trying to stop her. And she says just one word, history. Like history has shown the male, like from the male point of view, you know?
Yeah. History has forgotten the female perspective.
Yeah. Or just haven't even enlightened it or shone a light on it, which is true. I mean, that's like the books were written by men. It's been a male dominated society throughout, you know? So if you go through history, it's going to be male perspectives, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a valid point that she brought up.
Yep.
But everybody kind of looks like, Jesus Christ, who is this lady, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the end of the class scene. Hannah leaves, and she's a little stunned because she thought that her work was going to blow minds, and it just kind of annoyed people, it seems like.
Yeah, you know, the one thing that she wrote in the 1 week she's been at school.
Yeah, right. So she walks outside, and I think it is Chandra that kind of comforts her and being like, dude, this is a long process. Like, this happens to everybody.
No,
you know?
it's the guy, right?
Oh, it's D. August?
Right? D. August, he's the one that says it, and then he tells her to go to the party, right?
Oh, well, I know that he does do that.
Does Chandra come out first to say something?
I think that Chandra comes out. I could be wrong. Yeah, because I do know that D. August was like, what are you up to tonight? And she's like, I'm going to metabolize all of my notes and make them, implement them into my work in a way that makes sense for me. And he's like, you know, you should probably just like chill. We're going to go to the whatever bar and you should come. She's like, no, but I need to metabolize my stuff. And he's like, just come. Stop being like so stuck up and shit.
No, he's like, you have to come or else like everyone's going to think you're, I forget exactly what his words are.
Oh, a baby.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to think you're a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to go. So you have to go out for those things. You have to be a part of the group. And
because then people won't critique you as hard.
Well, no, you just need to like feel like you're a part of it. She's still going to get critiqued hard. If this school is as good of a writing school as it says it is, she's going to get critiqued hard as fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she goes down the stairs to realize that someone has stolen her bike. hilarious. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's classic, like, big city, small city stereotype things. You don't even have to lock your doors in this place. And it's like, just lock your doors, guys.
Yeah, right?
All those, like, 48, the, like, last 48 or first 48 and all those, like, true crime stuff. They're not just all big city crimes.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I remember I grew up in Baltimore City, and my parents very instilled in me, like, lock everything. Don't keep anything of value in your car. Like, just make sure that everything's all locked up. And then I would go to, I went to a party that was in Baltimore County, and, like, nobody locked anything. And I was talking to them. I was like, it was basically this conversation that Hannah had with Chandra. They're like, yeah, this isn't the city. We don't need to lock anything. I was like, I'm going to fucking rob you then, dude.
Well, I was in Cape Cod and it was like that. Like, they just didn't lock their doors and stuff. And it was just like, guys, this is not like...
Right? Dude, as soon as I get in my car, I'm in my car. Before I even close my door, I lock the door. I'm not... Dude,
it doesn't have to be a crime riddled like place for one incident to happen. Like,
yes, exactly. Yeah. And Hannah found that out the hard way.
Yep.
Gets her bike stolen.
But I mean, she's saving so much on rent. I was like, all right. It was, you know what got me? Oh, the book scene. We're gonna go back to this scene when she goes.
Brooks Wheelan.
The Brooks Wheelan section of this. No, when she's in the bookstore, she comments that, "Oh, it must be nice to have your parents paying for everything," about the girl in front. And she's like, "Oh, I'm in grad school. I'm in the master's program, so I gotta pay my own way." And I was like, "Are you though?"
Yeah.
Is she paying her own way? Like,
no, because her parents were like, "We'll make it work. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out."
I don't think she made enough at the GQ job for tuition and room and board.
Yeah, definitely not.
Yeah.
And this is an out-of-state school, so she's paying out-of-state tuition. Yeah. Like, yeah.
It was a weird. And to have a ripped up credit card too seems so weird.
Yeah, I just call the company and get a new card.
Yeah, I don't know. All right, moving on. Hannah
goes to the bar with her fellow classmates, and she's still hung up on their critiques about her story. And she's just kind of sitting there, and the girl that she's talking to, her name is Logan, I believe.
That's the character name?
Yeah.
She's from like Sneaky Pete, that show Sneaky Pete, and I've seen her in some other stuff.
So they're talking. I don't know what is said at the beginning of the conversation when the guy is still at the table. Mm-hmm. But they're drinking, and then the guy leaves. He's like, "Does anybody want anything?" And he fucks off. And Hannah's like, "Did you really think that my story was insensitive to abuse?
Abuse sufferers.
And then the girl's like, "Yeah, I kind of did. But like, this is what happens. You get critiqued and you can't bog yourself down in defending, your stuff. Like, imagine you just put out a book and then there's people critiquing it. Are you going to go to every single person's house and defend your work? No, like, it's fine. But you are going to get critiqued." And then Hannah goes, "Oh my God, I figured it out. You're an abuse victim. And my work triggered you. I knew my work was going to trigger people, and it triggered you." And the girl's like, "No, that's not it at all." And Hannah's like, "Yeah, you're going to tell me you never been abused and you never blah, blah, blah." And I was like, if anything is insensitive to abuse, it's this conversation right now.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that she's talking about like a book and like not being able to defend yourself. And this is probably sometime around when her book was out. Possibly, if not, possibly around that time. And then also, I was really worried about this scene. I thought we were going to have a repeat of the Jessa in rehab scene where she calls out one of the people in AA for being a closet homosexual, and then they turn out to be closet homosexual. I really didn't want this scene to be like, "Oh, you were insensitive because you were a victim of abuse." And then she's like, "Yeah, I was." And you're like, "Oh, okay. So you have the right to be offended."
Yeah.
Like, you can only be offended if you are in that group of people that the offense happened to.
Yes.
In which case, if you know that that's going to offend people that are victims of abuse, then it's still, why make it? Like, that's the people you don't want to offend.
Yeah, I don't think that Hannah meant to offend them. She meant to, like, it's going to stir up your emotions.
No, I know that, but she says, "Oh, if you are offended by this, you have a right to be because you were."
Right.
Because you were. So I'm like, so everybody that has been a victim of abuse reading this will be offended. So you just wrote something that will offend those people. You know what I mean? Like, if you know that, why are you writing it?
I didn't think about that.
Those are the people. So I was like, yeah, don't.
Oh my God. Yeah, dude. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I could see how you'd be offended.
Yeah, if you see how they could be offended, then you've already then don't write the thing. So it's that self-awareness, but not. I don't know. It's so interesting.
Yeah, but I thought that it was going to go the route of the Jessa calling the person out for being closeted. I thought it was going to go that route.
Yeah.
And I so badly didn't want it to because I just wanted Hannah to be wrong.
Yeah, I mean,
I didn't want Hannah to be right about it.
Well, yeah, if she's right about it, then it takes away the whole meaning. It like justifies her in a weird way. Like it justified Jessa in that moment of like calling everyone out because she was right about the one thing, but it's still like the wrong thing to do. You know?
Yeah. I even wanted Jessa to be wrong when she did that. Like, I just hate when people confidently like expose people like that, like they're embarrassing quote unquote secrets or whatever. Like, that's just fucking rude.
It's different if you're exposing the person who's being the disruptor in the group. Like Jessa's disrupting a group. The other people are being like nice and fine. And then you call them out on something about them, but they're not the issue. Like her, you know, like her.
Yeah. If somebody had called Jessa out, I could, you know,
which they all
rationalize
did,
that.
but
it, you know, Jessa's Teflon. You know, nothing sticks to her.
I can't believe we managed to like loop it back. But no, this just reminded me exactly of that scene, and I was like, because I still don't know if this Logan character was a victim of sexual abuse or not. You know, because I was like, she's kind of like no, but she's not emphatically denying it. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of left it open where maybe we find out later, which still I wouldn't want.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want it just because I would want like her critiques to be valid and like her in Hannah's mind, her being a victim of abuse would invalidate her criticism for some reason.
Yeah, it's like you can't write something that like a Middle Eastern person would find offensive, but it's fine because there's no Middle Eastern people in the classroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know. So this is where Hannah goes out and she tries to call Shoshana collect. And she calls her and Shoshana looks at her phone and she's with Jessa and she's like, this is so weird. I'm getting a phone call from 0000, and Jessa goes, oh, that's from prison, that was a great Jessa line.
Yeah.
Like, I hate Jessa, but that was a great Jessa line.
She is money when it comes to like the one-liners, I will say. That's what they really write those well for her.
Hannah picks up, Shoshana picks it up, and it's like, would you like to accept a call from, and then Hannah goes, it's Hannah, my phone broke. And then Shoshana's like, what? I can't understand. She's talking so fast. I don't understand what this is. I think it might be Hannah, but I don't know. And then she just hangs up. It's like, how? What?
Well, I mean, you have to think, I forget what year this comes out, but like when were collect calls like done? I feel like once people had cell phones, collect calls kind of fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, pay phones too. Like,
dude, do you remember when collect phone call companies, there was like a war between them on commercials?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking I'm going to post on the Facebook page that like big Geico commercial, like it's a baby had a boy, like
Yeah, Bob had a baby, it's a boy.
Yeah, where he was just say a whole message through the collect call and then not accept it.
That was a classic Geico commercial. But I remember there was like competing collect companies.
Yeah,
that there was like 4 of them, and they all had commercials on every channel everywhere.
I mean, but this is a time where we're drifting away from like having to pay for long distance was a big deal, you know? Like,
oh yeah,
and like now I have a New York City area code on my cell phone, you know, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have mine still.
Yeah,
Baltimore.
In this scene when they're watching TV, Shoshana's like, "Oh, I wish I met someone that loved me like Huck loved Quinn." And I was like, "Wait, did she say Hook and Quinn?" I'm like, "What is this?" I was like, I couldn't tell what it was, so I like Googled it immediately after. I just Hook and Quinn, but she was saying Huck and Quinn, and that's from Scandal.
Oh God.
And it's a really like I haven't seen a lot of Scandal, but it's a very abusive relationship because if you're listening to like what's happening on the TV, like Huck is like the guy from
I want to stick my tongue in your cheek.
He's one of the guys from Half Baked. He's the fuck
Bob
you
Saget.
No, he's like fuck you, you're cool. He's Scarface he's Scarface in that, but he's this like mercenary, like he's this like crazy killer in the show. That's like hired espionage killer for the Scandal crew, and he tortures this girl that he kind of loves. Like it's weird, and that's what Shoshana's saying, that she wishes she could find someone that
she basically wants to be the victim. She wants to be the victim of Stockholm syndrome.
It's a weird dynamic the two have in the show. So it's really interesting that that's the cue they have, especially with the whole abuse victim and Hannah writing a story about letting her boyfriend punch her in the chest or whatever. Collarbone. Yeah.
So Shoshana doesn't pick up, and Hannah calls her a cunt. And then she calls her parents collect, and her parents accept the charges, and they're like, "Hey, Hannah, what's up? Why are you calling us collect?" And she's like, "Oh, I dropped my phone in a creek because I was creek walking with all my new friends." And they're like, "What are their names?" And she's like,
the dad says, "What are they? You got new friends. What are their names? Ask them what are their names." And I thought that was such a funny moment of like, I wonder if he's like, okay, I can tell if she's lying or not by the name she comes up with.
And boy, did she lie. She said Shannon. It started off with normal names, and then by the end she said Nagasaki. And there was like 2 other names that were like, there's no way that's a name.
Yep.
So the reason that she actually called her parents, I thought it was to send her money to buy a new phone.
Yeah.
But that is not it. She calls them to ask if they ever feel like committing suicide when they're in a new place.
Yeah, is it normal to think of suicide when you're in a new place? Is the line.
Yeah. And her mom is like, "What do you mean?" She's like, you just feel like you don't belong, and, it would be just easier, and all your problems would go away if you commit suicide. And I was like, holy fuck.
This is the second suicide reference we had in 2 episodes too.
Yeah, but then her mom totally validates her, and she's like, "Yeah, totally. I totally think about that kind of stuff. Like, whenever I'm on a tall building, I think I could just jump off." And then she goes, "Whenever I hold a baby," and then the dad finishes the sentence. He goes, "Oh yeah, she always just wants to drop a baby, throw a baby."
Like, you want to drop it, but you don't. It's like, and that's one of those like weird, like Bill Burr. Like we brought him up before too. He has like in one of his stand-ups this great thing about like just driving down the street and being like, "Oh, if I just turn the wheel slightly to the right, it's like massacre. Oh my God, he killed all these people. Normal. Oh, just drive it home. Oh God, he didn't even try to hit the brakes." It's just like that moment of like just knowing that you could do something so horrific.
Well, he also has a joke about this in the special after that special where he's like, "I feel like I want to commit suicide, but not about anything serious." He's like, "It's just like I said I would make a pie for Thanksgiving." And he's like, "Oh, instead of making a pie, I'd rather just kill myself because then I wouldn't have to worry about the pie."
Yeah.
And like we all have those thoughts, but we don't,
we don't call our parents and ask them.
I know I would never call my parents about that shit.
Without any like with no frame of reference for it. Just like, "Hey, I moved to a new place and I'm thinking about cutting my wrist off."
Dude,
That's what she said.
If I ever called I would talk to you about that kind of stuff. I would talk to my friends about it. But like, her parents aren't concerned at all. Like if I called my parents and was like, do you ever think about suicide? They'd be like, what? Are you sure everything's okay? You want to come home? We're coming to get you.
Yeah, they literally are playing Scrabble, and the dad's like, hey, can we call you back? We have to. He's got a good word or something.
Yeah.
I'm going to call you back after the game. She's calling him collect too. No concern about why collect. You can't even call her back. Your phone's broken.
Well, he's like, we'll call you back after the game. And that was my thought. I was like, they can't call her back. She's calling from a payphone.
They just don't. Like, they've been through the Hannah thing.
They can't be bothered at this point.
Either they're just full enablers, which they are, but they also just can't, deal with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's where that ends. Hannah goes home. The door is wide open. And I was like, is this another one of those Iowa, you don't need to lock your doors kind of things? Hannah has like a stabby brass knuckles type situation. Yeah. She goes in. She's like, who's in here? I have a stabby brass knuckle situation and blah, blah, blah. And if you are in here trying to rob me or rape me, I'm going to stab you and slice you up. And then a door opens, and who is in Hannah's enormous house? Also, how did he figure out this is where she lives? Big question. But Elijah has come to visit Hannah.
He is like just popping up places.
Thank the Lord. Thank the Lord. I thought it was going to be Adam, but even better, Elijah.
Yeah, I don't know who. Now, I don't think I had a thought of who it was, and then Elijah pops out. I obviously just came in, took a shower, left the door open.
Right? Who does that? So,
yeah.
Hannah's like, what the fuck? What are you doing here? And he's like, I wanted to surprise you. And I'm also sick of New York. Everywhere I go, it's like I run into someone I've slept with and I hate it. It's grotesque. And I just wanted to come out here and be with you. And she's like, oh my God, I love you. And he's like, oh my God, I love you. Let's go to a party. And Hannah's like, I can't. I have to write and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, come on, let's go to the party. And she's like, all right, let's get fucked up and forget who we are for a night. And Elijah's like, yeah.
I love that he goes, change out of whatever this is.
Yeah. Dude, Elijah's fashion corner, you know?
Oh, man, he is snarky. He's like the classic gay best friend in like these shows.
Right. So they go to a party. Hannah gets appropriately dressed for a party. They're raging. They're dancing with each other. They're fucked up, drunk as shit.
Hannah's pouring out a ton of beer.
Yeah, that was so unreasonable. Just ruining someone's floor. So they're dancing, and then Elijah starts to kind of dance with this guy, and then they go to hook up with somebody. Or he goes to hook up with a dude. Mm-hmm. And I love this scene. Elijah's in the bathroom.
This is what you've been waiting for. This is your
love this.
This is your Elijah fanfic right here.
I fucking love this scene, dude. Elijah's in the bathroom with this dude. And he's like jerking him off and making out with him. And then the guy's like, wait, I'm not gay. And Elijah goes, I'm not either. And then the guy's like, and then Elijah says something like, this party rules. Aren't parties fun? And the guy goes, are parties always like this? And then Elijah says, every party I go to. And I was like, yes. Yes, dude.
Oh my God. He's gonna hook up with so many college kids.
Is this what happens? School. Is this what happens at parties? Elijah, every party I'm at. Fuck yeah, dude. That is like, that's up there with fucking I'm a man and I know how to do things.
Yeah.
What a great, hilarious
and just as scary, too. Just as scary. Elijah is going to run through this campus.
Yeah. I can't wait. I hope he stays there. I hope this isn't just like him visiting.
Oh, no. I think we got, like you were talking about earlier, I think that we're going to start getting full Elijah episodes. Like,
dude, I would love that.
If you talk about unbalanced, like, he disappeared for a while, but he came back with a vengeance. Like,
yeah. Love it.
I mean, he's at Adam's show, and Jess was not.
Yeah, he's in Adam's Broadway show pictures.
Yeah.
So Hannah is walking to go get some more beers, and she sees a girl crying, and the girl crying, Hannah goes up to her and she's like, well, what's wrong? Is everything okay? And she's like, no, I just found out my boyfriend is cheating on me. And as soon as she said that, I was like, oh, is this the guy that Elijah's hooking up with? That was my first thought. And then Elijah's going to get like decked or something. Who knows?
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that.
So Hannah's like, oh my God, somebody's cheating on you? Like, fuck him. Where is this asshole? And she's like, he's in Iowa State. She's like, oh, so you're doing long distance? And the girl's like, yeah. And Hannah's basically like, well, who gives a fuck? That shit's gonna happen if you're long distance. So buck up. Don't ask, don't tell. You're just gonna have to go out there and fuck somebody else. And she's like, the girls are like, what? And it's like, that's how long distance work, baby.
I'm 25. I know things. I lived a life. Let me take care of you.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, this is Hannah talking into a mirror, you know?
Yeah, I with this scene, I really thought, one, I was like, oh no, this girl actually got abused or something. Or like some weird stuff happened at this party and she's crying about it. And it was going to like really relate to her story that she was telling. She was going to come face to face with someone being abused.
Face the music.
Yeah. And it wasn't that. Then I was like, oh no, now she's going to think about her Adam cheating on her at home and like get real depressed. But she doesn't really.
Nope.
And then she kind of just like face mushes the girl, gives her a beer, and then cuts her in the bathroom line.
Yeah.
Which I will say, this show does a lot of, and I think this is on purpose, do a lot of people going to go take a pee or have to go pee or something. Because going back just to get the clips for like the opening of our shows, I like when I'm scrubbing through, it's a lot of people saying, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom real quick. You know, like Desi does it before his performance in the last episode. And then Hannah's going to the bathroom. Like everyone's always like going to go pee before they do something, you know?
Yeah.
I think that was probably like a conscious decision to be like, people never go to the bathroom in these shows. So
yeah, I guess that makes sense. People do go to the bathroom more often than in TV shows usually.
Yeah. Which I understand not having people go to the bathroom a ton of times in TV shows because you don't need it. I'm not watching Die Hard and thinking, is he peeing yet? You don't watch. It's fine, but it's nice that they're trying to show like it's trying to make it more realistic. Yep.
Yeah. And then so then Hannah gets into like a weird. I don't know what this liquid was. She gets into like a Jello wrestling match. I wrote Jello, but it's not Jello.
I wrote like blue paint. Paint? I don't know.
It's some kind of weird jelly that's blue, and then she's covered head to toe in blue. Yeah. The girl that she's wrestling is covered head to toe in blue. And it's just weird. And Hannah like towers over this girl.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Lena Dunham's like that big, like tall.
Yeah.
But there's a scene where like Hannah is standing like it's like a boxing like face-to-face picture kind of with this girl, and Hannah like dwarfs this girl.
I mean, Hannah looks hulking. It's like, why would you even step into that kiddie pool of blue liquid with her?
Right, dude? And she looks like Godzilla.
And she's fully clothed. She's in full clothes, right?
Yeah, like, the girl that she's wrestling is in like a bikini, but Hannah's still wearing her entire dress and everything. It's like, this is gonna get ruined.
Which is crazy for what we know about Hannah.
Right?
Like Hannah would be topless in 2 seconds.
I know. No Hannah nudity in this, and there's like a Jello wrestling match. I was fully expecting that. Elijah's yelling at her to scissor her because he's like, everybody wants y'all to les out, just do it.
Yeah. Elijah is like the wild man at this party.
I love it.
He knew where the party was before, and he just got there.
Yeah.
He got out of the shower.
I also love the line where I love the line too where they first see that Elijah's there. He's like, someone at the airport thought I was Blake Lively's husband. I love Iowa.
Yeah.
Dude, so good.
It's that thing where like New York 6, Midwest 8, or something like that, or whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Just the pool is a little smaller.
This one guy that I know, he has a bit about that, about how like he hates when people say that they're like, yeah, I'm a 6 in LA, but if you take me to Wisconsin, I'm a 10. He's like, I've never seen a picture of someone and been like, oh, they're cute, but where was this photo taken?
Yeah.
Like, I saw that guy do that bit, and I was like, oh, that's such a fucking good bit.
That is a good, like if you photoshopped like the Empire State Building behind someone, and then you photoshop, like,
Yeah, like in a cornfield.
yeah, and you're like, ugh, same pose, same picture. You're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so then they wake up the next morning. Elijah's passed out on the floor. Hannah's covered in blue still. Her dress was white at the beginning of the night, and now it just looks like when she wakes up, it just looks like the dress was supposed to be blue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they walk back, and that's basically the episode.
Yeah, they get up and just kind of walk away from they wake up and they do the walk of shame across the quad, it seems like.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's that's the new show. It's the Adventures of Elijah and Hannah at college.
I hope so. Emphasis on more Elijah, please. Just his antics never cease to tickle me.
One of our listeners was asked whether or not like we didn't understand why we didn't just love Elijah, and I was like, you've been championing Elijah since he first stepped on the screen.
Somebody thought that we don't love Elijah. I fucking love Elijah.
Or that he's
that
not
guy
our
is
favorite.
hilarious. Oh well, I mean, if we're doing girls only rankings,
well, not
then,
girls only,
yeah.
but like, I mean, I know we like Ray.
Yeah, Ray's great, but Elijah's just so fucking. He would definitely be number one.
The thing that is tricky is that when you like the guy characters in the show, and it's two guys reviewing the show girls, it seems a little weird.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll say this: I like Hannah's character to a point of like it's interesting stuff that comes out of it. Marnie's made to be a villain, and she plays it really well.
Yes,
I was thinking, I'm so happy I saw Get Out before I've ever seen this show, because like I would have already been off board with her at the beginning of Get Out. if I had seen this, I'd be like, no, get away, Marnie's trouble, done. Like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, man. She plays that character so well.
She does.
Just she thinks that she's not a villain, but she definitely is.
yeah.
Like
and that's the truth of any villain. Any villain thinks they're the hero of their own story.
Well, good villains are. There's some villains that are just like, I'm bad because I'm bad, and it's like that's a terrible villain.
Yeah.
But good villains are like, you see their perspective, you understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And like you can see why their experience would lead them down this path.
Yeah.
But
with Elijah, I was worried that we might get too much Elijah, and it's still scary because
I'm still enjoying it.
I'm still enjoying it. They haven't crossed the line yet. I'm just saying it's.
Yeah, because remember when we loved Shoshana and we were like, we need to see more Shoshana, and then the couple times we got more Shoshana, we were like, oh,
we're like, oh, no, we're good.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I get why we don't get more Shoshana.
Yeah,
but Elijah's he's still fresh for me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's going to be a good person to have at this campus, though.
No, he's going to fuck some stuff up for Hannah
and for the people around.
Yeah,
because he's living out a weird fantasy now.
Yeah,
of moving out to move to Iowa to stay at Hannah's house. What is he going to? I don't know.
Who knows, man?
But
yeah, that's the episode.
I do have a correction, or just like we mentioned in the last episode that when she put the vase in her bag to pack when she was packing to leave, we were like, oh, is that a callback to what Marnie had stolen at one time? But what she had stolen at one time, and one of our listeners, Lisa, had pointed this out, was a candelabra or a candlestick or something. It wasn't a vase, so that was just for comic purposes.
Okay, well,
yeah,
there you go. Wow, this was a short one.
Yeah, we can't really rank the girls either.
Yeah, can't really rank the girls. I mean, if we're ranking people, it's Elijah and Hannah, and Elijah's number one always, forever. And Hannah's number two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, it'd be interesting to see where we go, and if we go back. I think we're going to go back to New York next, and we're probably going to have an episode that is what you wanted, or it's going to be Hannah free.
I don't think that's what's going to happen because the next episode is titled Female Author.
I'm going to stick with my previous statement. I'm going to dig my heels in and stay with that.
All right. Well, tune in next time to hear us discuss Female Author. Thanks for listening, guys. See ya.